I've been saying for years, like I didn't pay attention to politics for most of my life, and then right around the time I started getting spiritual, I started paying attention to politics because I feel like they're all connected, right?
Yeah.
And I quickly realized like the systems that we're using are ancient
Hmm.
and deeply flawed. Like we're talking about industrial age education system, industrial age political systems. And this is what we're still fucking running with. Like
Yeah.
I get an update on my iOS or whatever every freaking week. I update that system every week because if I don't, it starts to break down. Think about our political system,
Hmm.
virtually unchanged in number of centuries. Of
Yeah. Right.
course, it's susceptible to corruption. Of course, there are loopholes. Of course, it doesn't work for us. It was developed for a different time. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't
Literally.
make any sense that we're still using this shit, you know?
Yeah. Because now we have the internet and technology, and nobody saw that coming. Nobody saw that coming at all. Like, you know, what's funny? I was thinking about this the other day, and correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody listening or you, any sci-fi novel or movie that was made pre-internet didn't have the internet in it. You know what I mean? Like Star Wars didn't have the internet. They might have had blasters and lightsabers and spaceships,
Yeah.
but they didn't have the internet, which is crazy. That like I feel like nobody really saw the advent of this whole thing speaking through time and space coming. Like nobody really. It was like something that it seems so obvious now, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, obviously this is where phones were gonna go. Just kind of like tracing it back chronologically,
Yeah.
but nobody really saw it coming. I don't think. I mean, there might have been some kind of something. I'm not too big of a sci-fi. Oh, what happened to my kid? Okay, I'm
You're
back.
back.
There might have been some kind of sci-fi thing that I'm not aware of, but nothing that I have seen has it had anything like this. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. They couldn't predict it. It was in some ways it was like too simple, right? Like yeah, you know, they were thinking like teleportation and like tractor beams. Like
Yeah,
they were thinking a little bit further in advance, I think, in a lot of the
yeah, yeah,
sci-fi stuff, but yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like it's so integrated into our lives now. It's hard to imagine the world without it.
oh,
Like it's part of the fabric. I mean,
yeah,
and you mentioned phones. I remember when the first iPhones came out, I thought, what? Like there's iPods. Like I had an iPod that had like, you know, 8,000 songs on it. I thought that thing was the fucking most amazing thing in the world. I was, when I bought it, I was
yeah,
like, it was my favorite thing for, you know, probably like 5, 10 years. But then they started kind of iPhones and I'm like, why a phone that does some of the functions of an like I didn't get it. And I
yeah,
knew other people who thought it was stupid. And now it's like, everybody has it. You just take it for granted.
yeah. Right. It's like we don't see the technology coming until it's already here. It's like I don't know. It's
So let me ask you, what's coming up over the horizon that we don't see coming now? Like there's
let me think
probably
about
stuff
that.
in the works like quantum computers and, you
Yeah,
know, AI and stuff. It's like we think that that stuff is sci-fi still, but it's just like it's here already. It's just kind of like just around the corner, you know?
yeah. Let me think about that. What's the next big thing, right? I mean, you know how everybody talks about like what's the big thing? Like what's the thing that's gonna happen? The event, you know, like what's this? It's the internet, bro. We're already here. Like this thing
Yeah.
has changed everything. It's
Yeah.
changed everything about our life. But what in terms of like so? I would say the biggest thing that has happened recently is phones. The being able the advent of the internet in our pockets. You know,
Mhm.
having the internet wherever we go because it used to be just localized to a certain room on a computer that was extremely slow. Now
Yeah.
we have supercomputers in our pockets. That's insane. That's
Mhm.
absolutely insane when you think about it. And everybody has a camera. It's just craziness. We all have GPSs in our pockets. It's just it's insanity. But the next like big thing, I'm trying to think. Let me think. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I don't actually I'm not making a real prediction here, but I think that if we can get here or if there's any way that we can get to virtual reality, like fully
Oh
immersive
yeah.
virtual reality,
Yep.
not just like you put on a helmet and you're like, oh, this is cool. Like you feel like it's 100% real. Like
Yeah.
somehow tap into your nervous system and stimulate it in a way to produce the experience of whatever it is you're simulating. So it's like it becomes impossible to distinguish between real life and whatever simulation you're running on your computer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just fully immersed in it. I think that that would change things like the internet on that scale. You know, it would revolutionize everything. Because imagine if you could just like plug in and go, I'm going to go skydiving, and you feel 110% like you're skydiving. Like it's the experience of skydiving, and your body and your brain can't tell the difference from this virtual skydiving or real skydiving.
Yeah.
So now you've got the possibility of doing all these far out things that you might not actually have the chance to do in real life, right? You just do it virtually, but it feels 110% real. It feels the exact same. So it's like, where do you draw the line between this virtual world and the real world if it's indistinguishable to your body, to your mind, to your senses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me would be the next level where we can literally just be popsicles. We don't physically have to be alive anymore. Just cryogenically freeze ourselves and live in virtual worlds and virtual universes for the 10,000 years. And maybe that's what this is right now, buddy. Maybe we're in it already.
I think it is. To be honest with you, it might be.
That's the simulation hypothesis.
Yeah, we're already in the simulation, but in this simulation that we're already in, we're building another one. It's like, does it ever stop? Does it ever end? I don't think so, man. Because it seems like we're moving into the Matrix.
Totally.
Like we're on the edge of the Matrix right now. And I think the next big thing is from technology being in our pockets to being in our bodies.
Yes, 100%.
The microchip, it's coming, man. People joke about that, some kind of conspiracy. It's like, no, obviously that's the next thing, dude. Because you know what it's going to be is if you don't have, it's like now, if you don't have a phone in the Western world or anywhere really, honestly now, if you don't have a phone, you're at a disadvantage. You're going to your life isn't going to be as easy as somebody if you did have a phone, right? You wouldn't be able to just do things that other people could do with a phone. It's that simple. So it's going to be that times probably 100 when it's literally in our bodies. I don't know if it's going to be we're going to have goggles or we're going to actually have the chip. Mm-hmm. We're going to have something implanted in our brain, whatever it is. It's going to, if you don't have it, you're going to be at a disadvantage. And I think it's going to be more so of less of virtual reality, which that'll be a thing. Mm-hmm. That might just be for games, but I think it's going to be an augmented reality thing. As in you're in a video game and you have a heads up display. So your home screen is literally just going to be your home screen and you see it and you can just, the apps, there's no app screen. It's just your apps
your vision. Yeah.
It's just an extension of your vision. Yeah. I think that's the next big thing, dude, is we are going to become cyborgs. Honestly,
by definition, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even a number of years ago, I saw they were building nanobots that you could basically take a pill full of 100 of these little tiny nanobots, and they could increase your lung capacity. So you could sit at the bottom of a pool for 2 hours with one breath, just because these nanobots are, and these were being developed, I think it was 5 or 10 years ago. It's not even recent. So imagine what they're working on now and they're not talking about.
I can't even imagine, man, the technology that is being developed right now behind the scenes. We're talking Black Ops type stuff. We're talking, Area 51 or areas we don't even know about type stuff. I've heard something from probably some Reddit post that said, the military is 50 years in advance from the technology that we have now. They had the internet before us. They
developed it.
They did. Exactly.
It's a military application. Yeah, absolutely. So they had no idea that it was going to be what it was going to be. But that's crazy.
So maybe they're developing some kind of super soldier augmented reality heads up display, something along those lines that will eventually reach us in the future, but it's not yet. Probably that's most likely what's happening. Why? I don't see why not.
Yeah.
They probably even. I think the next big thing too, going on the futurism here, is being able to invent an energy source that is infinite. And it is as powerful as gasoline. Kind of element, is it 151 that Bob Lazar talks about? I think it's 151, element 151, where, do you know the story with Bob Lazar? All right, so I'll tell it a little bit here. Mm-hmm. Bob Lazar is an ex-Area 51 worker, essentially scientist, and he was... Anyone can go listen to Bob Lazar and Joe Rogan or any other podcast, and you'll get a better story than I'm going to tell here. But summing it up, he was an Area 51 scientist that was tasked with deconstructing some kind of, they had this technology, which was this spherical object or some kind of geometric object that they knew could bend gravity
Mm.
somehow. There's
Hmm.
somehow that it could like they knew how it worked, but they didn't no, they knew what it did, but they didn't know how it worked.
Right.
So his job was to try and reverse engineer whatever this element is, which back then when it was a thing, um, element 151 wasn't it wasn't on the periodic table, which I think it is now, which is crazy.
Hmm.
So now before it was they were just trying to figure out what the hell this thing was. And Bob Lazar, I don't think he ever figured it out. He said he saw some aliens there at Area 51. Long story, but pretty much he was the whistleblower for this whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was some kind of energy source, summing it up, that was able to bend gravity, right? And if you can bend gravity, what's holding you back from, flying around the universe essentially? Because that's kind of like
Yeah.
if you can just it's essentially just being able to levitate or just like, have superpowers essentially.
Mm.
And most likely, if this was, I think this was back in the 90s, early 2000s, maybe, if they were working on that now, they probably got it figured out by now. They have to have made some headway in whatever this element is, and especially now because it's on the periodic table. So
Hmm.
they probably, that energy source that we were talking about, that unlimited energy source of being able to bend space and time,
Hmm.
um, that's probably already a thing, to be honest. And that might even be, how we're seeing UFOs and UAPs.
Yep.
What if that's just our technology that we're seeing? That's some Black Ops stuff going on. It could be.
Very possible. Yeah.
But why would it? Because if you're the United States military, the greatest military in the world, right? And you got some technology that you don't want China or Russia or Iran to know about, you're gonna call those things aliens. You're not gonna say, "Oh, that's our technology."
Nothing to
You're
see
gonna,
here.
yeah, exactly. Nothing to see here. That it could just be like testing of some kind of technology that we have now. I mean, I
Yeah.
hope it's the aliens. I really do. I hope there are aliens on Earth, but it could just be some kind of technology that humans have deconstructed from the aliens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Who knows, dude? There's a lot. All summing it up, dude. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that we have no idea about as the layman, as the people that are
Absolutely.
just trying to survive day to day.
Yeah, brother. There's the stuff we know we don't know, and then there's the stuff we don't know we don't know. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
Like there's stuff that we're like, oh, this is a mystery, and then there are mysteries we don't even know about. And
yeah,
so
right.
yeah, it's pretty wild. Um, on the same topic, remember there was an object that flew through the solar system. I can't remember what it was called. It was like a Hawaiian name for scout. It was like Unu. I
Yeah, I
can't.
don't know how to pronounce it either. It's like Ononuma, something like that.
Yeah, I think you got it. And it was like a very particular or peculiar object. Like it was flat and cigar shaped, and it was like nothing that we've ever seen before. And it just kind of whizzed through. And I read an article a couple days ago, I think, and it was basically speculating that that thing could have been like some kind of alien vessel that's like just doing a flyby on Earth, right? Just to check things out.
Yeah,
So, it's like there's all these different mysteries out there that we have no idea, right? We're seeing like signals out there, like repeating signals. They're starting to observe these in different parts of the universe, and they
oh
don't really
yeah,
know what it is. And they think could be like a supernova, could be this, could be that, could also be somebody trying to get our attention, right? I mean, it repeats regularly every so often or whatever. It's very cyclical, like you can predict it. So it's like, that sounds like a signal to me, right? So
it's
yeah, I
true.
mean, the question of whether there's other life out there, to me, it's like 100% yes. If you just take into account the size of the universe, the number of exoplanets that we've discovered in the last 10 years, and with our crappy technology, right? I mean, we're just starting to discover these planets out there. And the fact that the ingredients for life, the elements that are needed for life are in the top 6 most common elements in the universe. So it's like, hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon, right?
Yeah,
Top 6 most populous elements in the entire universe. So it's like the entire universe is overflowing with the ingredients for life. There's billions and billions and billions of exoplanets out there. Like, of course, there's other living creatures out there. They might not even be as advanced as us, but 110%, I think there's other creatures, other beings, probably sentient beings out there for sure.
yeah, right. There's got to be.
There's, even if you put the odds at 1 in a billion, there's probably a billion freaking planets with life just in the Milky Way galaxy, bro. Like,
Yeah,
people don't understand the size, right? It's like, oh, 1 in a billion. What are the odds? Well, when you're dealing with trillions of freaking stars, each one potentially housing X number of planets, 1 in a billion are really good freaking odds now because you're dealing with trillions, like,
Yeah.
So
Oh
yeah,
man,
undeniable, man. There's got to be aliens out there.
there's got to be aliens out there.
Or
There's
here
got to be.
even. Maybe they're already here. I don't know about that, but
I think if they are here, they've been here for our entire lifetime. Not
yeah,
even just our
ancient
lifetime. I'm
aliens.
saying
Yeah,
yes, ancient
humankind.
aliens. We're going
Yeah,
down that route.
dude,
I'm
let's go,
saying
man.
yeah, for as long as the humans have been around, they probably, if they are here, if there are actually extraterrestrial beings on this planet, they most likely have been here since our inception, if I had to guess. And they
Yeah.
were probably either our caretakers or our our masters. Either one. Like they're either here for us to guide us along,
Yeah.
or they're here enslaving us, sucking our energy. Or some people say there's both. Some people say there's the reptilians that are taking our energy, harvesting it, and some people say there's a war going on between, who knows, dude? Nobody has any idea. But there's probably, if there are extraterrestrials, they've probably been here. And I wonder where we come in the picture too. That makes me wonder. So it's like, if there are these extraterrestrial beings with with spaceships that are able to bend space and time and gravity and just do these feats of physics that are just so unattainable to us at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they so concerned with some monkeys? You know,
Why are we so concerned with monkeys, Gary?
with monkeys. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good
Yeah, we
question.
do
So
experiments on them. We like put them in zoos, we're like so much more advanced than apes, and monkeys, right? So it's like
maybe it's because when I look at a ape, I'm like, damn, I see so much similarity between me. I'm like, damn, look at that thing. It's got hands. Like it
yeah,
has different facial features, and
yeah,
and some of them can talk. Like gorillas can do sign language. And I'm just
totally.
like, damn, there's something so fascinating about that. Like how you can see something that's not human yet have human characteristics. So
It's because
maybe we
all
have
life is one, bro.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. I was gonna get to that. So
yeah.
maybe we have some kind of characteristics of these beings that they are interested in for some reason. Maybe we're just a giant experiment, right? And
Maybe.
from this, they're developing us into this being that is just so unworldly. Like we're literally creating a whole new creature being. You know what I mean? Like we are morphed between an animal and an alien, essentially. Sometimes I think that. Sometimes I
Yeah.
think that we are the essence that these aliens have, these caretaker aliens have implanted in us is consciousness. Like they
Mhm.
know that we're all that one consciousness.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I don't know why, they had to put that consciousness here on Earth and inside of an animal DNA, inside of an ape DNA, right? Like
Mm.
I think we're half alien, angelic creature, whatever you want to call it, some extraterrestrial, otherworldly creature, and then half animal. And that's
Mm.
what a human is. Because, I am an animal. We all know that. We all have our sexual instincts. We all have our sensual pleasures, is what I'm trying to say. That we all,
Yeah.
we have our animalistic side of us that we can all recognize. But then there's also the other side of us, of, like you said, we're all one. We can recognize that we are all this one giant consciousness. We are all these spiritual, multi-dimensional beings. We're able to have, the laws of physics. We're able to go to the moon, and just the list goes on of what the other aspect of humanity that is disconnected from being an animal. There's something about that, and I
Mm.
think the aliens are they're that's the part of us that is one with the aliens somehow. I
Mm.
mean, all is one, no matter what. Like in this physical realm, all is one. But I think there's a certain essence about a human being that is unworldly. There's
Mm.
something extraterrestrial in our DNA. Like we are the aliens. You ever heard that? I think it's true. We're not 100% like coming down on the spaceships, but I think there's an
Yeah.
essence in us that is directly related to these things that we're seeing in the sky. It's crazy, man. Well, what are we creating? Where are we going? What's the reason? If there is a reason, I don't know, but we're creating something. Doesn't it seem like it? Like we're moving, like human development isn't going backwards. We're creating this thing like we're doing right now. We're creating, like, seems to be some kind of super intelligence, some
Yeah. Oh,
kind of like
absolutely. Yeah, we're creating a hive mind, and we are. I mean, we're the only non-insect species that is considered ultra social, right? All the other ultra social creatures on this planet are ants, bees, right? They're
Mm.
like insects.
With a hive, you're saying?
Yeah, but we're like the most complex animal to develop the ultra social trait to the point where we can function in large groups as essentially one. If you
Yeah.
look at things like military corps, like a unit or whatever, there's like however many people, 2,000 soldiers operating as one creature, one being, right?
Yeah.
One mind behind them. And so, yeah, I mean, and with the internet, now we're getting online, the entire planet, all the humans across the entire planet eventually could be connected into one consciousness where each individual is just a node, right, in this huge network of consciousness. And so, yeah, I completely agree. We are not necessarily consciously or deliberately, but we are building towards that. And if we can just, I mean, I think that's the part of the solution to a lot of our problems is bridging the gaps, right? Because if we see that the people at the other side of the planet are just the same as us, we're all the fucking same. We all have the same basic drives, the same basic needs. We're all trying to achieve the same thing, right? Live a good life, love, happiness, all those things. I think that if we can bridge a lot of those gaps through this kind of network, then the elite will have a harder time dividing us, right? They divide us because we don't know the other, right? Because we're separate from the other. And then we fear the other because we don't know it. But if we could all connect that way, completely immersed, together, they can't lie to us anymore. I know that whether you're brown, white, gay, straight, trans, whatever, you're my brother, you're my sister. We're all the same. We're all one family. So I think, I hope you're right, man. I hope we can build up to that network of one consciousness. But there's some really interesting things you said, man. Feeling like an alien. I think humans feel that way because we are alienated from our animal nature.
Ooh,
I don't
that's
think
good.
we are aliens. I think that we are 100% animals, but we're a very special type of animal, right? And through this evolution and through the evolution of our consciousness, we've become almost like two creatures in one, as you said. We're like an animal nature and then something else that's a bit more sophisticated, that has a bit more vision and a bit more wisdom. And so grappling with those two sides, we feel like we're almost alienated in a way, right? Because the body wants to do certain things, it has certain cravings, but then there's a part of you that's like, no, dude, like I can't do that. Like I have responsibilities, or I have to work towards this.
Yeah.
And so, that feeling of being divided and of having multiple sort of almost, I guess you could say, consciousnesses inside your body, I think is the source of that alienation, or that feeling of being an alien that you describe so well, man.
Yeah, that's good. Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm open to all possibilities, but of course I have my theories that I've come across over the years that I think are quite compelling. And my favorite theory for why humans are so different is the self-domestication hypothesis, which I don't want to take up too much time. I'll just do real quickly. It's this Russian scientist was raising foxes in captivity, basically wild foxes. And over a generation or a couple generations, I think maybe over 50 years, he was breeding them. And he was taking the aggressive ones and killing them or getting rid of them and breeding the ones that were like the most friendly, right? Which is essentially what domestication is. You get rid of the ones that are hyper aggressive, you keep the ones that are friendly, and over generations, you get dogs from wolves. Mm-hmm. So anyways, this guy was doing this with foxes. In 50 years, the foxes' snouts shrunk, their ears got floppier. So over 50 years of selective breeding and domestication, the fox has changed physiologically. And when you look at humans, like we're so close to chimps and bonobos, right? Like 1% DNA difference. Bonobos are starting to do this. And bonobos, if you know anything about them, they're very similar to chimps, but their behavior is quite different. And what they do is they're not aggressive. The females run the society and they use sex for everything to resolve conflict, to get rid of hyper aggressive males. And so what we're seeing with bonobos is they're starting to self-domesticate, and lo and behold, they look more like humans than chimps do.
Oh.
If you ever look at a bonobo, some of them look freakishly like humans. And so I think we're like an ape that started to self-domesticate, my man. That's what I think. I don't think aliens came and put anything in us. I think we just domesticated ourselves, and that basically changed our entire everything. I mean, it made us so different, right? Even though we're not that far removed biologically from apes, right?
Yeah. That's what we need to do, man. Resolve conflict. We just gotta have sex.
The bonobos, bro. We
Giant
can either
orgy.
go with our chimp nature or our bonobo nature. I think the bonobos have figured it out. When
I think they
when a
did.
male gets super aggressive, they just kick him out of the tribe, and then he comes back with his hat in his hand about 2 days later because he's lonely. You
That's
know,
crazy, man.
just
Wow.
take the hyper aggressives, the psychopaths, the crazy people out, and all of a sudden you've got a brand new world. But
There we go. Look at that. Looks like a face, right? Looks like a human, kind of. They all have different faces. Like this guy has a different face than this
yeah,
guy.
the other thing about bonobos
Or
that
girl.
is wildly interesting, they're the only other species on Earth that does it missionary. No
Wow.
other animal on Earth fucks face to face except for bonobos and humans. So I'm telling you, man, I feel very confident in the self domestication hypothesis. I feel like that's what happened with us. And now we look back and we're so far removed from these creatures. But think back to that Russian scientist. In 50 years, the foxes changed physiologically. Their appearances started to change after only 50 years of domestication. So now give yourself 100,000 years of self-domestication. That's the difference between you and a chimpanzee. That's why you
Wow.
look so different. That's why you're so vastly different in so many ways, right?
You think we just became too isolated, you're saying?
Not isolated. I think that we literally just domesticated ourselves by being social and by basically removing the hyper aggressive characters out of the tribes and stuff, and eventually that caused us to become more social. And basically, yeah, the self domestication hypothesis is like when you domesticate a creature, an animal, it changes physiologically, and that's why we've changed so much from the apes we were, 2 billion or 2 million years ago, let's say.
Hmm. Yo, I'm looking at these bonobos, man. They look kind of creepy.
I know, right? There, and I guarantee you, if we could just like preserve them and let
Look at
them
these
keep
things.
doing what they're doing for another 20,000 years, they would end up just like us, man. They would just turn
Probably.
out to be just like us because
Look at
they're
this.
already on the way. Yeah, look at that, man. That's crazy,
They all have
right?
different faces, which is crazy because other animals don't have faces, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, they do in a certain way, but not to the extent of these bonobos. Like, look at that guy or girl has a totally different face than this one
Yeah. Yeah,
and
they're
this
sweet,
one.
man.
Wow, I have such a fascination with apes. Like,
Yeah,
I
dude.
think that's how we started this whole conversation. Oh, there they go, doing their thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go. Face to face, man. I'm telling you, there's something there. There's something there. But yeah, that's just my speculation.
It's casual
Yes. I like that position too, buddy. Good job.
missionary.
Yeah, that's it, man. Face to face. That's maybe that's the
That's the
deciding
key to life.
factor. Yeah, between animal and a more advanced being. Do you fuck face to face? That's the
Yeah,
distinguishing factor.
I mean, hey, there's something passionate about face to face. It's less rapey than from behind, you know. I don't know.
Totally, man. And it does actually imply some kind of connection, right? Like you staring
Yeah,
into, two bonobos staring into each other's eyes while they
yeah, it's kind of
make
like
love.
yeah. Wow, that is crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, dude. And again, I haven't brushed up on this in a while, but for a while I was deep into it. Bonobos fascinated me for a long time, and then I picked up this self domestication hypothesis, and I was like, man, just rings so true to me. It's like, because we feel like we're so different, and we come up with these kind of like grandiose explanations, like the gods made us out of clay and breathed into our lungs and made us the gardeners of their palace or whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. I can see why we would think that, but I just feel like there's probably a more like simple explanation, let's say. And I think if you look at evolution and domestication and all that kind of stuff, it's like, oh, that's a compelling theory, let's say.
Yeah, I think those tales, those tall tales of our origin, are just different ways to explain that. Like, I think it just depends on how you look at it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can explain it with the tall tales of Greek mythology, or you can also just take the evolutionary route, or you
Mm-hmm.
can take the route of Krishna and Brahman and Atman, and you can take the route of
Yeah.
Christianity, Revelations. But it's all getting around to the same thing. It's just that we all came from this one thing, and we're all just throughout our missionary sex, we have evolved into these loving beings of humans. You know,
Yeah.
we kind of yeah, we've transcended that animalistic, like yeah, we're whatever the belief is. It's like we've evolved. Is I guess what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say is like no matter
100%, man.
what kind of label you want to put on it, we've evolved past something. And yeah, maybe we came from some divine source. Probably, actually, we did. I think just life is divine itself, even if it
Yeah.
is just evolution.
Yeah,
We
man.
came from that source, living in the hunter gatherer times, so when animals, well, tracing it back, hunter gatherer times, animals, uh, microbes, and then we were at one point we were just like an atom. We were just like these like chemical reactions, you know.
Yeah, man.
Tracing that, that's divine. That's that story of God, I guess you could say. And here we are. We're here now. But whatever label you want to put on it, it's that yeah, we seem to be evolving still. We're moving towards something. Like
Mm-hmm.
where that's why I'm always interested in like where are we going? Like, I think a lot of the idea of where people, if they do think about it, most people don't think about it, but if there are people that think about it, like like where we're at, I think a lot of people think we've stopped our evolution. Like this is it. We're here now. We're the human beings that we are, and this is the end. You know, we have Google, we have TikTok, we have Zoom, and that's it. Where this is the end of our evolution, right? But no, we're
As good as
actually
it gets, Gary.
nah, yeah, no. I mean, some people say we're devolving into, and I think that is also the case, but I think there is also an aspect of us that is evolving somehow, and we're evolving, getting back to it, that hive mind. We're getting to get back to that oneness, because we were separate for so long, and the internet is allowing us to get back to a sense of familiarity, similarity with each other somehow.
Mm.
Like I think the internet is more than just TikTok. It's more than just Instagram likes. It's more than just, you know, funny videos and memes. It's actually a connectivity between all of us. It's the one intelligence. It's literally like the whole in these epics of you know, say Brahman and Atman, and that whole idea of the father and the son, you know, the idea of the one becoming the many as we are now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In the next stage is the one, the many, and then going back to the one, yet
Yeah.
still holding on to the manyness. That's the
Yeah.
next stage of the evolution. It's like we came from this one singularity,
Yeah.
divided ourselves into this multiplicity that we are now, billions and billions of nodes, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to stay as those nodes, and go back into a consciousness of the oneness, yet
Yes.
also keeping the nodes in the multiplicity. And what
Yeah.
that means, like for what we are as a being, I
Yeah.
don't know, but I think, you know, staying on the whole futurism aspect, that's where we're going. Like we're somehow evolving into this being that is one yet separate, yin
Mm.
and yang, you know? And
That's the paradox, man. That's the
yeah,
paradox.
that's the
Individual and
paradox.
collective, right? Like individually unique, but at the same time universal, because the uniqueness that you have is, let's say, a veneer, right? And underneath that veneer, there's a common core of humanity that is the same in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So you are an individual, unique snowflake. No one is identical to you, but at the same time, underneath that individuality, everyone is exactly like you. And in
Yeah,
fact, everyone is the same. So it's like navigating this interesting paradox of being a unique individual while also recognizing that we're all one. And
exactly.
you said something really brilliant there, because you're right. We all come from that state of oneness. But the difference is, when we were in that state of oneness before, it was unconscious. And now,
Yeah,
as you said, we are entering into that state of oneness consciously and
yeah,
deliberately, while keeping your individuality intact, right?
yeah.
And so if we can manage to do that, like you've been saying all along, dude, I've been watching your videos and our old, interviews that we've done and stuff. You keep saying like, this is the first like day of the future, or like you keep saying like,
Yep.
we're on the cusp of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that if that happens, the world will be radically transformed. Like, we think that it's crazy now looking at the internet and all this stuff. Dude, if we can all recognize our oneness while maintaining our individuality at the same time, this entire planet is going to change for the better. And we are
Yeah,
going to become Star Trek level beings, my friend. We're going to
yeah.
go vacationing on Mars in 30 years, because we have it. We have the
Mm-hmm.
technology. We have the know-how. We have everything at our disposal. The only thing we're missing is this awareness of our commonality, our
Yeah.
connection, man, our connection to every other creature on this earth,
Right.
basically.
That's the next stage, is us all becoming conscious of that. And it may seem crazy because honestly, that's not the paradigm right now. We're still not running on that. Even though we're developing the technology for the Jetsons, like we talked about in Star Trek, we're still that we're not, it's not going to be able to work unless we have the consciousness of all is one and one is all.
Yeah.
Because if we don't develop that, we're going to blow ourselves up. It's that simple. Like if we develop some kind of technology like that and we still have hatred in our hearts toward other human beings, something big's going to happen. We're a nuclear bomb, some kind of electrical grid strike. I don't know, whatever it is, something bad's going to happen. And unless we evolve consciously to that point of all is one and one is all, it's not going to work. But we are going to. There's no choice. We have to get to this point that I'm speaking about right now, and I know this for a fact because I speak to other people that are on this wavelength. So I know that I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy, Mom. There's other people out there like me.
Gary's mom, you better listen. He's sane. Yeah,
seriously.
Well, listen, man. Being sane in an insane world, right? I mean, you're going to feel some alienation. That's a side effect, right? And people are going to think you're the crazy one because the entire world's crazy, and you're one of the few that's on the wavelength, right? So that makes perfect sense.
They thought Jesus was crazy too,
bro. That's all of them, man. All of them.
All of the greats.
They were all rebels, bro. They were all going against the grain. They were all thought to be crazy by the people of their time. And then, lo and behold, 2,000 years later, there's 1,000 denominations of Christianity out there worshiping the dude. Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. But I don't know if we have to do it. I think that we should definitely build towards that. I think that would be wise of us. And I think that those of us who are on this wavelength should definitely continue working towards that. But I mean, like you said, it could easily come to an end, right? I mean, we could easily wipe ourselves out, and especially because like this whole paradox, we're talking about interhuman connection, right? The fact that all humans are one. But another aspect of this evolutionary leap in consciousness has to include the earth, man, and nature. We have to recognize that we are also one with the planet and that we don't exist without the planet. And so our fate and our well-being is tied up with the entire fate and well-being of the world. And if we observe nature and we study nature and we see how it operates and we do the opposite, which is what we're doing now, right? Infinite growth, right? Doesn't exist in nature. Waste doesn't exist in nature. Until we learn to align ourselves with the way nature works and to work with it instead of against it, there's still a very good chance that we're going to fuck ourselves up. I mean, dude, the weather in my town last weekend was hotter than the Sahara Desert. I live on Vancouver Island, British Columbia. It was hotter here than the Sahara Desert. Climate change is fucking legit. And I don't know if we're doing it or if it's just the natural cycles of the earth or both, whatever. It's real, man. I can see it year to year. It's been radical. And it's because we're working against nature. We're studying nature. We understand how she works. And then we're going against the grain. It's like, no, dudes.
Yeah.
Nothing works like this in nature. Why do you think that infinite growth is possible on a planet with finite everything, finite resources, finite everything? How can you think that infinite growth is possible, right? It's wild. How can you think that landfills are possible? There's no waste in nature. You go into a forest, the forest does not produce waste. Its waste is fuel for new growth and regeneration. We can do the same, man. We have the understanding and the knowledge. So not only do we have to figure out that we're all one as a species, we have to figure out that we're all one with the planet, and we have to get in alignment. Doesn't mean going back to like tilling the soil with fucking stone tools. It means using technology to get in alignment with the way things are. It means using our understanding to become one with nature and one with each other. And then nothing can stop us. We will populate the entire fucking universe, my friend. Humans everywhere, for better or worse, right?
Yeah, man. Amen. That's the goal. That's all part of that paradigm shift consciousness that I was talking about. It all 100%. Relates to that. And what it is we need people that are powerful and actually can make decisions like that, and that have a lot more money and influence than I do to get on that wavelength. We need to dose these people with psilocybin. All of these powerful people, they need to get on that wavelength, man. Because what am I going to do other than talk about it? Maybe I can make some small decisions, like I don't know, don't run the water while I'm brushing my teeth, or just simple things in day-to-day life, renewable plastic bags, little things like that. But is that really going to change the world? If we all did it, yeah, but I know that's not going to happen. But what's really going to change the world is the policymakers and people that,
Mm,
own these companies that have the ability to change the products that we use
yep.
and to change the way that we actually do live our life, and, institute certain laws and procedures that enable us to create that better world. I don't know how we get them on that wavelength though, because it's like, it's crazy, man. Those people, I feel like the most powerful people are the ones that are the most lost, which is
Hmm.
understandable.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
the ones that are
Yeah.
most attached to their power. That's what it is.
And their ego too, right? You mentioned at the beginning, you need some of these people to come in with money. They need to be selfless. That's the problem. Got lots of people with enough money to make it happen, but they're not selfless. They're very much ego driven. And so as long as you've got motives like that, you're in it for your own fame, your own wealth, your own whatever acquisitions. Yeah, there's no way that those people are going to be on that wavelength. But
Yeah.
who knows, right? I mean, I like the idea of dosing them. I think that would be an elegant solution to the problem. If only we could find out, if they all have like a team meeting once a year, it'd be nice to like slip some LSD into the water supply there or something and see what happens. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's back to the system. It's back to what we started talking about, right? You and I can't reverse climate change. We can't fix the problems individually. We need to fix the systems that perpetuate the problems and allow the problems to exist, right? That allow companies to pollute and dump things into rivers and, all that kind of shit, right? Like, we have to fix the system, but that's something we can do, I think, in a democracy, at least in theory.
Yeah, in theory. In an uncorrupt democracy, yes.
Well, and in fact, the fact that it's corruptible and the fact that it's, like I said, a 300-year-old system with lots of vulnerabilities actually makes it easier for us to exploit. It makes it easier for us. There are loopholes. There are ways to, let's say, hijack the system, I think, especially in Canada. I mean, I know in Canada, I think it's like 50% of the population doesn't vote. If you could create a political movement that engaged that percentage of the population, the ones that don't vote, you've got yourself a majority government. You can change the laws. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I think you can hijack the government. And in the US, it's probably similar. Like, there's a way to do it. You just need critical mass. You need a lot of people on the same page to get on board and to vote and to, get involved. And that's the challenging part.
Yeah, right. Well, I think voting will eventually be on our phones or through technology, through the blockchain, probably.
Not if they have any say in it. Not if the elite and they don't
Yeah.
want that, because then you will get the type of change, systemic change that I'm describing. Because if
exactly.
you had the ability to vote on your phone, you wouldn't just be voting on your representative. You wouldn't just be voting for the president. You'd be voting on bills. You'd be voting on laws. You'd be maybe proposing your own fucking laws. And if enough people support it, why couldn't it become a law in government? You know what I mean? So I think they're going to fight that as hard as they can. They don't want you to have that kind of access to the system, because then it will change and then they'll be out of a job. Why do we need representatives if you can do everything over, your computer and your phone, right? You're your own representative now.
Maybe that's what the future entails, is that humans aren't going to be us. Like, they're not going to be running us. I mean, like humans, technology will essentially be our master, and we'll like, there'll be some kind of like, it won't even, not really like a government like we have now. So like, don't picture like, like a representatives such as that we have now, where we elect reps that,
like congressmen and senators.
Like not anything like that. Like a government has no, like, there's no three branches, there's no president, but there's some, I don't know, I'm not proposing any solution, but some kind of government or system that some kind of algorithm, that we all agree on somehow, and it kind of is like our overseer. It's kind of like our arbiter. It's something that kind of it doesn't decide the rules, but it's the one that holds the rules in place for us.
For sure.
Our future. That seems to be like, if you don't corrupt the technology, which, how do we go about that? I don't know. Maybe the blockchain.
Sounds like blockchain. Yeah, blockchain is hard to corrupt, right?
Yeah. So if we create, that's why blockchain cryptocurrency is the next big thing, man. It's people don't see this coming, but it's going to change the world more than just being able to, buy some food in Bitcoin. It's going to change our systems. It's going to change everything. But we're still so early in that you can't see it coming. Getting back to like technology, you don't see coming before it's already too late, right?
Yeah. I've heard that the blockchain, I've been told that for online voting, that is the most secure way to enact any kind of like direct democracy, right? Where you
Yeah.
have your own say, you're your own representative. And I think that personally is the way of the future. I think we have to get there, or we should be working towards it. And, it's interesting. What do you think of this? Whenever I bring this up to people, they kind of cringe and they're like, ugh, like people can't run themselves. Like, the population, the general population isn't smart enough to make these types of decisions, right? Because I'm talking about like you and I taking things into our own hands, right? Having our own votes and our own power, right?
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of people are very cynical about that. So what's your view on that? Because if you're opening it up and you're letting people have more access to politics and have their own voice and their own say, you're also opening it up to people like, I don't know, people who are racist, people who have basically what you and
Yeah.
I would consider to be antiquated ideas about humans and identity and stuff like that. So what's your take on that?
That is, yeah. I mean, that's true because yeah, not everybody's on the good. Not everybody's a good guy.
Not everybody's on the kumbaya train like you and
No,
I, right?
no. There's some people on the dark side,
Yeah.
and maybe we don't get to that point until we change our consciousness first. Like I don't. Maybe we're just not physically. We have to recognize that we aren't able to be independently self governing
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
until we change our way of life, our consciousness, which by then we're probably going to be in a totally different world.
Yeah.
We're right now, if we were to say tomorrow, institute that self-governing process through the blockchain, whew, shit would be crazy, man. We would like, there's too many racist people out there. Like you said, there's too many people that are just so lost in the sauce, so far gone, where just like we'd have some laws and stuff that would pass that probably wouldn't be a good idea. And yeah, I mean, it's a very, very complicated issue. Like what we're talking about is like, we're talking about it very basically in basic premise, but yeah, the whole, the intricacies of that system, the said system that we're talking about, it's so complicated on how it would actually make work. I don't know. I think I can see it though. I could see something like that happening. Like, I heard somebody say this the other day. I don't know who it was, where it was, but decentralization is evolution. Maybe that was when I was talking to Ruben the other day. I don't know, but decentralization, like we've become through our evolution more and more decentralized as we go on. Like we started off with the kings, and you had the peasants, and just the whole aspect of just you had one ruler, and that's it, and he was the central government. But slowly but surely, we're moving toward decentralization, just with the advent of democracy and republics. That is decentralization, even though we still have representatives and we still have a president or a prime minister. It's still divided power. It's still checks and balances, right? So I think just natural evolution while we're evolving our consciousness, we're going to naturally evolve into some kind of decentralized system through technology. And I'm not going to be the one to propose this is how to do it. I'm just saying I can see that how the future unfolding that way. And like, I honestly, dude, I don't think humans are going to run us. I think it's going to be technology is going to be the arbiter of our species in the future, which is, that's crazy. But we're
the arbiter of technology, my friend. So indirectly, we're still, we're creating these AI networks that are smarter than us, but we've somehow created them. It's kind of that's a paradox in itself, right? I mean, they've got these like deep thinking AI networks that, you plug in the medical data for an entire hospital, and it'll start predict the health outcomes of its patients with more accuracy than any doctor could. And the doctors are looking and they're like, how did the algorithm predict this? And they're looking at all the data for this patient and they can't figure out, but the computer knew. Somehow it saw a pattern that humans can't detect in all the data, right? So yeah, I think even if we get to that point, it's like we're still behind the veil, like of the technology. We're still the ones tooling the technology and making it do what it does. But in some ways, I think having an impartial kind of algorithm or AI, at least oversee things, maybe not be like the dictator of the world, but like as the sort of foundation of our governance, would make a lot of sense because it's impartial. It's a lot smarter than we are, and it understands things at a level that we can't understand. So, it would probably take care of a lot of the debates that we would have, because it's like, there is no debate. This is what the freaking computer said. It knows it's 99.9% accurate. That's what we're going with, right? Take some of the guesswork out of it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, who knows when we have Skynet, you know what I'm saying? That's in the future. That's That's way in the future. That's like outside the concept of what I can think right now. But I think the next the closest step that we can kind of imagine is creating a system of technology that is uncorruptible.
Hmm.
So we still have human beings that are running us, that we say they're the president or representative, whatever it is. But the way they got elected is uncorruptible,
Right.
and you know, get rid of the whole lobbying aspect, and you
Yep.
know, the whole, let's make our system a system through technology, through maybe blockchain, whatever it is, some kind of algorithm that is, no matter what, is uncorruptible.
Yep.
There's no greediness, there's no like sly backdoor deals. There's only, everything is transparent. And I think
Yep.
that's the first step in this, before we get to Skynet, is creating a, a system that is able to be just and fair and, like I said, transparent. Everybody can see the system that we have set up. And then
Yep.
from there, we get into not even needing humans anymore, but how far in the future that is, could be hundreds of years. I don't know. But I think that's the next most rational next step, is creating, like I said, getting rid of these old systems that were created thousands of years ago,
Yep.
and still keeping the core tenets and the values of, because democracy, I think, is a great idea.
Yep.
Keeping
Yep.
the idea of democracy, but evolving it, making it into democracy 2.0, you know?
Hmm.
I think that's kind of probably going to be the next step, and it's probably going to be through blockchain, because you can't, like I said, you can't corrupt blockchain technology. You can't. You just can't. Like,
Yep.
it's hard to explain. You just can't. The whole point of blockchain is to be uncorruptible. So through that, through some kind of, I don't know, app that someone creates on there, someone that knows way more than I do will
Hmm.
create some kind of essence to make a system that is 100%, because that's the thing about a blockchain too, is you can trace everything.
Yep.
So it'll make it be transparent, traceable, and fair. I
Yep.
think fair is a good word. Fair for everybody. Like if I wanted to run for president, maybe, you know what? I'm going to run for president, Oliver. Whenever this happens, I'm going to become president. Because right now I couldn't run for president.
No, of course not.
It wouldn't work. I don't have enough
Dude,
money.
you couldn't even run for Senate or Congress, bro. Like it's not a democracy. It's not a free market. It's none of those things. I mean, that you could call it what you want. It's just like saying that the Chinese are communists. It's like, no, they're not communists. There's never been a communist state. Like, people throw these labels around without knowing what they actually mean. And at the end of the day, yeah, it's pretty crazy to me that people think that like China is communist. But yeah, the
What do you mean
political
by that?
literacy. Well, they okay. So China right now, do you think China is a communist country? They're run by the Chinese Communist Party, right? But do you think that China is a communist country?
From what I've been told, yes. I don't know
Okay.
too much about it, but you mean like, is it less communist than North Korea? 100%. Yeah. Is that what you're getting at?
If you look up a definition of communism right now, you will see that there's never been a communist state in the world
Oh,
in
like
history.
in its definition, like what Karl Marx was talking about.
Yeah, just like how the National Socialist Party of Germany, the Nazi Party, they weren't socialists. You think Hitler was a socialist?
Yeah, he was fighting against socialism,
He
right?
was a dictator
Yeah.
posing as a socialist, just like the Chinese Communist Party is a dictatorship
Oh,
posing as communism,
okay,
just
I
like
get
how
you now.
Stalin was a dictator posing as a communist. So you can call yourself a communist, a free market capitalist. You can say that it's a democracy. You can say whatever you want. But when you
Mm,
look at the actual ins and outs of the system, that tells you what it is. So
yeah.
again, China is a dictatorship. It's not a communist regime. There's no communism there. Communism seeks to eliminate all currency. So any country that has currency, that is involved in free market capitalism, that has private ownership of any means of production, right off the bat, they're disqualified. They're not communists. That
Hmm.
goes against the definition of communism. Now, you can call yourself communist if you want, and people can say you're communist. But if you look at what communism is, that's not it. Just like how the Hitler wasn't a socialist. He called himself a socialist. He ran under the National Socialist Party, but nobody is saying, "Hey, look at those Nazi socialists," like,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they were dictators, they were
Hmm.
fascists, right? So to me, it's like, yeah, we talk about democracy in Canada, in the US. There's no democracy. You can't fucking run for office, bro. You can, but good luck. You don't have enough
Yeah.
money. I don't have enough money. I don't have and even if I had enough money, I got to work to feed my family. I can't just take off and quit my job and run for office. I don't have the means to do that. I don't have the freedom to do that. So is it really a democracy when you're really only allowing the rich and the well-off to govern you? I don't know. It doesn't sound like a democracy to me. It sounds like an oligarchy or something like that, right?
Yeah, whatever label you want to put on it, it's not fair, like we talked about.
Yeah, and it's not democratic. Like political parties are anti-democratic as well, because if you're voting for a representative who's a part of a political party, like in Canada, for example, I elect a member of parliament in my jurisdiction or whatever. He goes to Ottawa to represent me, but he doesn't represent me. He represents the Liberal Party of Canada or the Conservative Party of Canada or whatever party he's a part of. He's representing their interests. And so if my interests are at odds with the party's interest, he's going to go to bat for the party because he depends on the party. The party gives him the seat. The party tells him what to do. So I'm not getting any representation. There's no democracy there. There's no representation there. They're representing a political party. My interest comes second. And if they happen to align with the party, then I might benefit. But otherwise, it's just a fluke.
Yep. Wow. Yeah,
it's so fucked. We're not, and again, free market capitalism is the other thing, right? Deregulated markets are not free markets, bro. If you deregulate the market, you get monopolies. And a monopoly is the opposite of a free market, because if you want to start a coffee shop and Starbucks is right across the street from you, you're screwed, buddy. And Starbucks is on every corner, right? So it's like, how is that a free market? You got to regulate the market in order to make sure that it stays free and that the playing field is level. If you deregulate it, it's the opposite of a free market. And that's what you have. That's what we have in Canada. There's no free market here.
Yeah, exactly. Somewhere
Small
in the
businesses
middle.
get pooched, right? And the big businesses get all the tax write-offs and they get all the help and the COVID payouts. And then their CEOs get $2 million bonuses. No free market, right? So you can call it what you want. That's all I'm saying. I don't really care about communism, socialism, all that stuff. It's all yesterday's news to me, but people calling a communist government, to me, it just cracks me up, because it's like, look up the definition of communism. There's never been a communist state. Even the Russians, even the USSR was not communist. I don't care what you say. They were a fascist dictatorship, and they pretended to be communist because that's what got them in power and got them the support of the peasants and the people. But there's no communism there, bro.
Yeah, you're right. Communism in its true essence isn't like evil. You know,
not at all.
Like what Karl Marx was talking about wasn't actually like an evil dictator, fascist system like we see.
It's the opposite. There's no ruling class in communism. That's the other thing. So as soon as you've got a ruling party, a ruling person, you're missing the mark. That's not what communism is. So, and we can debate whether communism can exist, right? I mean, maybe it's impossible. You always need a centralized ruler or a party or something to take care of things, but the fact is, accusing people of being communist or states of being communist is like, people got to educate themselves a little bit. Wikipedia, bro. Wikipedia. That's all you need. Type in communism in your browser right now. You'll see for yourself, man. There's no communist state in the world right now.
Yeah. Damn. That's crazy.
And there's a few democratic states as well. That's the other thing I would put forth. There's not a lot of democracy.
Labels. Yeah. That's crazy, man. Yeah. I mean, it just comes down to like education. If you just educate yourself a little bit more. But that's the problem too, is we live in a world where just nobody takes the time to just read. I don't know, read or just listen. Like, we all have such short attention spans nowadays. That's why I kind of fear for the youth, because they don't have attention spans, bro. Like, I recognize that we've been talking for over an hour now, and most likely people aren't going to listen to this. Most likely, but if they do, they're probably going to find some value. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but we talked about some cool shit. And, you do on your channel and I do on my channel as well with other people. But that's the difference between becoming a conscious being in the future and unconscious. Is like, are you going to get lost in the sauce of TikTok dances, 60-second videos? Or are you going to take time to better yourself and actually, educate yourself and learn? That's what it comes down to, just being able to learn. And you're not going to learn anything from 60-second videos, bro. And your Facebook, well, you might learn something from Facebook, who knows? But like, most likely you're not going to learn something from some kind of meme, some kind of image. That's what being conscious is about, man. I think not all of it, but one aspect of it is just being able to teach yourself something, being able to grow, being able to sit down, read a book, or listen to an hour-long podcast or something like that, like that is huge. And that's going to be the difference between people that are going to get lost in the sauce, lost in the system in the future, and the people that are actually gonna have some say, have some kind of I don't know if you want to say power, but have some influence and have some kind of freedom in the future, you know? Freedom, not necessarily of the wallet, maybe that'll come with it, but freedom of the mind, and that's huge, you know? Because like knowing that I can sit down and listen to some podcast or read a book and read a whole article or learn about communism if I really wanted to, that's power.
I don't suggest it, but yeah, it is power. I agree.
That is true power of the individual. That's becoming the sovereign individual. And I talked about us evolving into that conscious being, and it's true. Like I think we are, but I don't know if everybody is. I think the select few are.
What you're describing is discipline, my friend. I mean, it's the
Mm-hmm.
discipline to, again, it's that divided nature that we talked about earlier. The animal wants TikTok. The animal wants video games. The animal wants a 6-pack of beer. The animal wants whatever, right? And so the conscious individual is one who has the discipline to say, no, not today. I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to read a book today. I'm going to take a course. I'm going to do, even though it's
Growth.
not inherently pleasurable in the short term, in the long term, you recognize that it's for the better. And so you put the long-term goals in front of the short-term gratification.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's hard to do, bro. Even as a person who is conscious, I would say most of the time, that's not easy, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to veg, man. I just want to play video games. I just want to hang out with my kids and do nothing, right? I don't want to read a book. I don't want to meditate or whatever. So, anytime you exercise your sense of discipline and you do something like that, like you put your long-term goals and your self-improvement ahead of, gratification, I think it's worth celebrating those moments, man, because it's not easy.
Yeah, that's true. That's just a balance. You got to enjoy life a little bit too.
Agreed.
Just find that
you're
balance.
good at that, man. I think you're good at that. I like that. That's one of the things I like about you is you're not, you're not all on one side. You're a balanced individual. Last time we chatted, you were going out to a party or a concert or something. And it's like, fuck yeah, man, live life, bro. I mean, you're here for, who knows how long. So you got to make full use and full enjoyment of this lifetime.
Mm-hmm. The middle way. That's the middle path. That's my sadhana. Right. My path in this life is not to be a monk. At least at this point, I don't see that. And my path also is not to just be some Joe Schmo schmuck. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm somewhere between the monk and I'm somewhere between the monk and someone that's lost in the sauce. I don't know how else to say it. Like I think I'm like the bringing it to the people. The way. Yeah. It does lie somewhere in the middle, because if you're too much, like you said, in your studies and into growth, then you're going to miss the point of this life.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're too much not into that, then you're going to become unconscious and you're going to fall behind and just, you're going to suffer essentially, and I think, somewhere in the middle, at least for me, I'm a Libra. So as for your astrology fans, it's all about the balance. I don't know how true that is, but that's probably why I like the balance. It's somewhere in between is how you truly, for me at least, find the art of living.
That's where I'm at too, brother. I mean, moderation in all things, especially moderation. You got to moderate your moderation. You can't be too moderate. You got to have a good balance. But yeah, no, I completely agree, man. It's just, balance is the key. I mean, you can't, I think like being all the way in one direction or the other. And again, to take it back to politics, it's the same fucking thing, bro. Left wing, right wing. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen a bird fly with one wing? You need both wings. You need both wings. You need the socialism and the capitalism. You need the democracy and the fascism. You need all of it. There's elements of all of these political ideologies that are not only valuable, but when you integrate them together as a singular whole, it's like, that's how they're supposed to work now. Yep. Like doing all one way and none of the other is stupid. It makes no sense.
Exactly.
It's all about finding a balance, right? Those political compasses that you show you whether you're left, right, or whatever. It's like draw a big circle in the center. That's where we need to be, because there's elements of all four of those, like, political ideologies that are very valuable and important.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
if you double down on one and you ignore the other, you're going to be missing out on a lot of those important aspects.
Yep. That's the way. The way is the middle way. It's like Luke Skywalker. You got to bring balance to the Force. That's what he did. That's
exactly right. Yes.
That's the whole story of Star Wars. He had to bring a little bit of balance.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he was riding the dark side. He's like, You got to be a little bit on the edge there, but yeah, exactly, man. And it's like, we're living in a world of extremes. So I think your message and your way of the middle path is exactly what we need right now, man. Exactly what we need.
I don't know. I don't know if everyone's suited for it, but I think we can all do it to a certain extent in our own way.
It looks different for everybody. The middle way for you and the middle way for me, with 3 kids and a wife and a house and a job and all that stuff, it's going to look different, but it doesn't matter. Everybody has to find their own middle way, find their own center, and try to spend as much time in that center. And again, I'm not trying to preach and tell people what they should do. I'm just, again, my theory, my hypothesis is that if we spend more time in that center, in that heart cave, and we see things around us for what they really are. Because if you're all the way one side, you're not going to have a realistic picture of the whole, right? Your perception is going to be skewed. But when you stand in the center, you see everything around you clearly. And that's what we need right now, because a lot of us, we're confused and we're not seeing things clearly. And so, yeah, man, that's the place to be.
True that. Staying centered, staying aligned. It's tough. It's an ongoing thing. That's the thing too, is it's not like once you get there, you're there. It's a lifestyle. It's a practice for me, at least, to be able to not don't get too sucked into one ideology or don't get too sucked into one practice, to stay fluid, to stay in the flow of life. That's a skill. And it's a skill that I'm cultivating every single day throughout my yoga practice, throughout my teachings, my learnings, whatever it is, my meditations. It's a skill. And once you get on that path, at least for me, can't get off it, man. I mean, you can stray away from it a little bit maybe, but I can't, there's no other way to live my life now. Like once you walk the path, as they call it, there's only one way to live life. I can't just get sucked into a regular day-to-day job or, I mean, it's okay to have a job. I'm not saying that, but to get sucked into that and think that's your identity, or just get sucked into any ideology or lifestyle that I call this is me. This is who I am. I just can't do that, man. The path is the path. The way is the way. There's no other. Once you find the way, there's no other way. There's no other way. There's no other way to live your life. That's how I see it, at least. I can't go back. Like there's no going back once you become aware of. All right, so let me go back a little bit. Like once whether it's through psychedelics, yoga, meditation, traumatic event, whatever it is, there's a certain awareness you come to. You're like, damn, I gotta change the way I live my life, or else I'm gonna suffer. And once you come to that conclusion, there's no going back. Like I do yoga regularly, like crazy Kundalini yoga regularly. I meditate.
Yeah, 6 hours of fucking meditation straight, bro. That's wild.
Well, that was intense.
Is wild.
That was
man. I watched your video after. You were high on your own supply, my friend.
Yeah, I was insane, man. Honestly, that was really insane. I don't think I'll do that again, because it was not pleasurable. I just wanted to do it to prove it to myself and to prove it to other people that it can be done. Yeah. But I still meditate, I don't have to do it for 6 hours, but I still do it regularly. And that's the path for me. I don't think I could ever stray away from that. There's no other way to live life, because if I do, then I'm just going to suffer. And once you realize that, there's no going back. Once you're in the Jedi Order, you don't leave.
Well, and it kind of implies that what you're saying kind of implies that suffering is to some extent a choice, right? And I mean, I don't know, people in the audience, if you've gotten this far, you might be outraged by that proposition, but I would have to agree with you if that's what you're kind of saying, man. Like pain is inevitable, right? You have a physical body, you're going to experience pain at some point in this life. It's highly probable. It's almost certain that you will. But suffering is not mandatory. You don't have to suffer. Suffering is to some extent a choice, right? And what you're describing here is the way that you have found to alleviate suffering or to prevent it from happening unnecessarily in your life, right? I mean, your way is what prevents or eliminates the suffering in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and we can all do that in our own way. No pun intended. We can all do that, is find that flow in our own, whatever it is. Whatever. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I can tell you how I do it. I've said it plenty of times how I do it. But the way that I do it, like you said, you have 3 kids, you have a house and a job, whatever's going on in your life,
Yeah.
That's your life. You got to figure out your flow. Whatever's
Yeah.
going on in my life, I got to figure out my flow. But there
Yeah.
is a certain essence that we can all touch upon where we reach that perspective of, I'm not suffering. Even though I may be in pain, there's no one to suffer. That's essentially what it is. There's no
Yeah.
suffering being here. If you
Yeah.
just and what it comes down to is, for me at least, I come down to being the witness of that. If I
Yeah.
can continually reach my perspective into grounding myself into the witness of, okay, I got a little bit of foot pain today, or I got a little bit of weird anxiety today, or I got a little bit of a stomach ache, and I just notice that, and I say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, but that's not me. That's just something it's just a phenomenon, like a movie. And I
Yeah.
know some things are easier said than done to do that, but that's why we have the practices to train our mind to be able to handle whatever comes up. Like, I do these crazy intense yoga sessions, insane, painful. I wouldn't want to do, like, you don't want to do yoga. That's the thing. Like, when you truly do yoga, you don't want to do it. It's not something that's like, I want to go do it and have some fun. It's like, no, I do it to train my mind to be okay with not being okay.
Right.
To say that, like, hey, all is temporary. I could be in this crazy pain, sweating my balls off, just feeling really uncomfortable right now. But I know at the end of this practice, when I'm lying on my mat, just breathing, it'll be worth it. And
Yeah.
that trains your mind. It really does. I want to make a video about yoga and the importance of yoga. Or any physical exercise, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
whatever your yoga is, because that's the thing
Yeah.
too that I want to talk about. Is yoga isn't just stretching. Yoga is your way to train your mind to be able to be susceptible to unpleasurable events, essentially, so that you can reside as the witness, so that you can know that you're not the suffering being, to know that you are everything, your consciousness. You are not this body, this meat suit. You are way more than this being that thinks it's suffering, going through emotional turmoil, physical turmoil,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is to reach that union on the inside. That's what yoga means.
Yeah.
Whatever it is to reach that union with the divine, with the inside, with infinite consciousness, with God, whatever it is, whatever you got to do to reach that. Swami Chaitanya said, the guy I talked to who smokes a lot of weed, he said, whatever you got to do to reach the divine is up to you. And that's pretty much I live by that. That's my mantra. Whatever you have to do to
Yeah.
reach the divine, that's up to you, but it's possible. We all have our own way to do it, but the way is the way is the way.
Well said, sir. Yeah, I was just gonna say, man, exercise and is the same, right? I mean, you think that pain is bad, but it's not so. Not all pain is bad. And I mean, if you work out or if you do this kind of yoga that you do, you realize that the pain is good and you learn to embrace it. And so you're training
Yeah,
your mind and your body, as you said, to view pain differently, right?
that's what it is. Yeah.
And to stop viewing it as oh God, no, no, not pain, no, to yes, fucking grab it by the horns, man. Like I
Yeah.
do some workouts that are like short and intense, and every time I'm about to start it, I'm like, fuck, god damn it, not again. Me and my wife both were like, why are we doing this again? And 30 minutes later, we're drenched in sweat, whatever, but it feels good. It feels
Exactly.
good afterwards, right? So yeah, it's back to discipline, and it's like the body and the mind just get in the way of that experience of union. And so what you're describing to me is like a training regime to soften that motherfucker up,
Mm-hmm.
Stop getting in the way here. I'm going to tire you out so bad, body, that you're going to have no walls left to put up. You're going to have no resistances left, and you're going to finally experience what it's like to be one with everything. But in order to get there, you have to soften that guy up a bit. You have to soften the body and the mind up, because they resist it. They don't want that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And it's not the easier. That's the thing. It's not easy because it's so much easier to just sit on the couch, eat some Cheetos, watch some Netflix, right? That's
yeah.
what we all do. We all do it sometimes. That's okay. But if you
Uh-huh.
get stuck in that rut and doing that every night and playing video games every
Yeah.
night and doing that all the time and creating patterns out of that and rituals out of that,
Yeah.
that's not how you, I mean, personally, that's not how I want to live my life, because then it's just like you said, it makes your character soft. Like, it makes you just not be able to handle like the real grit of life, the shit that's going to happen to you. When if you train your mind to create rituals where you do almost in a way inflict your own pain on yourself, you inflict your own suffering, I guess, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It creates the suffering that you don't necessarily consciously inflict on yourself a little bit easier to bear. That's how I see
That's
it, at
right.
least.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. It's training yourself for when real pain comes, right? I mean,
Hmm.
I'm bench pressing or whatever, hitting the bag and it's like it's burning. It's like that's a good kind of pain. And so if you're getting used to that kind of pain, maybe if you break your leg or you have some illness or something, it's like, well, this is just the same sensation. It's just pain, right? And I'm capable of handling pain because I subject myself to it willingly when I do yoga or work out or whatever, go for jogs, right? You learn to push yourself past your physical thresholds because you realize that you're not the physical, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, right? Your body's saying no more, no more, but you can actually push yourself further than that. You
Yeah.
can go harder, and it's like your mind will tell you you're done long before you're actually done.
Yeah.
Like you can go a lot further than you think you can, and that's true for everybody. It doesn't matter what your fitness level is or what your activity is. If you, and for me, a lot of the times I work out stone, I'm not going to lie to you, and that helps because the
Same.
mind is like no, and you're like fuck off, oh you just keep going, right?
Yeah.
But you can push yourself a lot further than you think you can, and it's like once you learn that, it's like, oh crap, what else can I do that I didn't think I could do?
Exactly, man. Once you just learn that this body is it's a huge biocomputer that's editable, you can program it.
Yeah.
That's power, being able to know that this body serves our greater consciousness, not the other way around. Like the body is not the greater consciousness, and that we can take the reins of this crazy biological supercomputer. Not 100%, obviously. We're not like, we're not 100% able to, we're gonna die someday. Is what I'm saying. We're gonna get old. We're not 100%, but we can kind of steer the boat down the river of life. We're going towards the river. We're gonna eventually go off the waterfall, but you can kind of steer it down the river a little bit. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
So
you're not just helplessly being carried along. It's like it's like learning to operate a vehicle, right? I mean, it's another analogy, right? I mean, it's like imagine never learning how to drive and just being thrown in a car, and it's like, here you go, have fun. Like nobody teaches us about our bodies. Nobody teaches us how to use them. Nobody teaches us that we're not our bodies, and that the body, as you say, is the servant of consciousness and not the other way around. So yeah, I think that as adults, a lot of us come to this later on in life and we start to figure it out, but pretty wild, man. Yeah. And you know what we should do next time we do this next month, we should do a yoga class together. You take me through it, man. Let's do something. Make me suffer. I want to try it.
I'm going to be making YouTube videos, like yoga videos. Nice. I've just been writing them and actually making them, but I have some practices, but I have the gear. I just got a wireless headset. I got a transmitter, and I'm going to start making videos because I'm like, if I do this in person, I'm like, why don't I just do this online to everybody else?
Yeah, dude, for sure.
Kind of the way I look at it, because I'm like, I'm going to do this anyway. I might as well just film myself. It's just that like it's a different aspect of it, and I got to actually get the practice down. And I've been working on it. That's all I'm trying to say. And I have my own type of yoga too. It's I don't have a name for it yet, but it's a blend of, if anybody's listening and anybody knows, it's a blend of Vinyasa, Yin, and Kundalini yoga that I created, and I blended it all into my own little formula. And it brings me to a sense of peace, man. And I don't think anybody's really doing it. So yeah,
sweet, man.
Maybe you can try that. It's kind of intense, but it's helpful for like just being able to reach a certain sense of peace and bring energy in the body and feel good, essentially.
Awesome. I might suck at it, but I'll do my best, dude. I'm not shy, and I like trying new things. So yeah, if you want to try that next time, that'd be an awesome pilot for your blend of yoga, the Gary Haskins blend.
It's the Gary Haskins blend.
I'm sure you can come up with a better name for it than that.
Yeah, I've been trying to think of a better name, but I don't know. We'll get to that when the time comes. But yeah, man, that's the next step in my journey, is like going online and teaching people, because why not? Like I said, I teach this thing 2-3 times a week to people in real life. And literally I just kind of go on a mat and people watch me. So I'm like, what if I just do the same thing online with a camera? Dude. I'm like, what am I waiting for? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Dude, that sounds like a business, man. It sounds like a business and a passion, which to me is the best combination, right? If you can find a way to help people do something you love and generate an income at the same time, you're in heaven, my friend. So anything I can do to help you and support you in that, let me know, man.
You already have, Oliver, man. Just you being here and being able to listen to my ramblings.
Oh
honestly.
man, I love it, dude. I love it. I'm so glad that we connected all those months back, and I'm really happy that we're buds, dude.
Yeah, honestly, glad that I can call you a friend, a virtual friend.
One day, man, we're gonna hang out together. I'm telling you, we're gonna
Yeah.
trip. We're gonna go do some fun things, and we'll document it for the fans.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's not in too distant future, to be honest with you, man. But we'll get there.
Yeah, dude, it's starting to open up, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I want to meet you guys in real life. So
Let's do it. Let's make it a thing. Let's make it
awesome,
possible.
brother.
Yeah, we probably wrap this thing up on that
I
note.
think so. Yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with the kiddos and do some stuff around the house. But it was great chatting with you, and let's touch base and see when we can do it again next month.
Sounds good, bro. Have a good day. Enjoy the time with your kids, and yeah, I don't know. Peace out.
Yeah, man. Thanks again.